Welcome to Peterbilt's latest body integration training. My name is Tony Sabler. I am Peterbilt's vocational marketing manager, and I am glad that you have joined us. This particular training module is part of a series. It will highlight the benefits that a common Peterbilt electrical architecture provide, including the switches that are available and a process known as switch learning. Once you're done, I invite you to view the rest of the 2021 Body Integration Series. The first major benefit relates to the consistency of body integration across Peterbilt's trucks. For those of you that are familiar with the prior VECU system on the 567, this will be very familiar. In general, all of the models will be using the same VMUX electrical architecture and switches, consolidating the switches that you need to stock for upfit. Having all trucks on the VMUX architecture also consolidates the service tools that are needed for new trucks. When considering the chassis to body integration, there are two primary types of switches: multiplex and hybrid. And if you need more technical information, I recommend our online resources for the latest bodybuilder manuals and programming guides. Let's get started with a closer look at the switches. The first point to note is that all VMUX switches are electrical. This means that regardless of whether the switch is controlling an electrical function, like turning the headlights on, or an air function, like dumping the rear suspension, it will perform that function using an electrical signal. This eliminates the air lines that were previously routed inside the dash for air switches. Next, the VMUX electrical system will use two types of switches. Most are multiplex switches. This means they are connected to the truck's multiplex CAN bus system. Looking at the picture on the right, showing the back of the dash panel, you can see how all of the switches on that panel are daisy chained together, then only one of the switches actually has a wire that connects to the main cab harness. This results in a substantial reduction in wires on the truck for improved reliability and diagnostics capability. The VMUX switches also have icons that are backlit, indicating when they are active. The second type of switch is a hybrid switch. Hybrid switches are also daisy chained. However, that connection only provides power for the backlighting function that I just mentioned. The actual operating signal is a separate wire that plugs into the yellow section on the back of that switch and is physically connected to the component that it controls. As a side note, all switches that are considered safety critical are hybrid switches, meaning they are also hardwired for redundancy. The last point is that multiplex switches are movable, and we'll cover that in more detail. This shows how electrical signals basically move from the actual switch across the CAN bus. I'll keep this very simple. Top section represents switches installed at the factory. The dash switches are circled in yellow. The MUX, or multiplex switches, send a signal through the MSM, or master switch module, over a LIN bus. The LIN bus are those short yellow and blue wires connecting a group of switches. The message is then sent to the VECU, or Vehicle Electronic Control Unit, which is the centralized brains of the system that comprehend all the incoming electrical messages on the truck. Then the VECU decides where to send the signal to complete the operation. Moving to the bottom section, when you upfit the truck with a spare hybrid switch, you will connect it to the other switches in that area for backlighting using the LIN wires. Then you will also wire it directly to the component that you want to control. One more point to note, the hybrid switches are rated up to 15 amps. Now, I've mentioned the term LIN bus several times. It not only represents the short connecting wires between the switches, it also groups the switches into specific LIN buses and plays a role in when the switch needs to be learned, in other words, programmed. I mentioned earlier that the VMUX switches are movable, so you can customize their location however you want. So when is a switch learn needed? When you move a switch from one LIN bus to another LIN bus, or when a new switch is added. Moving a switch within the same LIN bus can be done with no additional work. Here you see how the switches are grouped on the 2.1 meter Model 567 dash. Likewise, on the new medium-duty models, dash switches are grouped into 2 LIN buses. All of the interchangeable switch positions are on the B panel, so a relearn is not needed. However, if you are adding a new switch, it will have to be learned. Dash switches are grouped into 2 LIN buses on the 520 as well. As you see here, it is dependent upon the cab configuration. And here is how the 2 LIN buses are designated on the Model 389 cab. Now that we understand when a switch learn is needed, here's a quick introduction to the process. As we've discussed already, there are 3 cases where a switch learn is needed. In order to learn or program a switch, you will need the Davy4 service tool. This is only a quick how-to, so for more information, refer to the 2021 Multiplex Electrical System Programming Guide. Following the steps on the left, so Davy is connected to the truck, select the Repair Support tab at the top. Then select Driver Environment from the dropdown, Learn Dash Switches, then click the Start Test Procedure at the bottom. You'll be prompted to verify that a few conditions are met, then click Proceed to the next step. And the next screen will indicate that, in this case, a new floodlight switch was recognized and is now learned. Again, for more detailed information, refer to the programming guide I mentioned earlier. So, how do you get a Davy license so that you can learn switches, or so you can take advantage of all the other customizable features that are available with Peterbilt's VMUX system? The simple answer is contact your Peterbilt sales rep. They will get the process started. In the next couple of screens, we'll take a look at the various switches that are available with the VMUX electrical system. The switches have been organized by functionality indicated by the gray rows and shows which truck platforms these options are available on. The first group includes switches for PTO mode control, also commonly referred to as PMC. PTO mode control is specific to the PACCAR MX engine, and it is the first step for using the PTO. I invite you to review the overview module in this training series for a basic explanation of PTO mode. The second group includes switches for the preset PTO speed control when using the cab control station. The next group includes spare electrical switches without wiring. Below that are examples of other electrical switches that you can spec. In contrast to the prior set of electrical spare switches, here you see electrical spares that include wiring. The ones on top have wired pigtails behind the dash. I want to highlight in green some new options being introduced on the new medium-duty models. These switches include wiring that extends outside the cab and are accessible at the back of cab location on the chassis that we've referred to for other connectors. These options are a great enhancement for body integration and eliminate the need to disassemble dash panels to install the spares. And finally, you can see a list of options which specify electric over air or electric over hydraulic functions. Now, let's take a quick look at the switch functions that are available. They are grouped by how the switch works, shown in the gray row. For example, the top section here indicates a 2-position hybrid switch that maintains position when it is pushed in the up or down position. The function is designated by the icon and description. Lower on the slide, you also see some switch functions with momentary activation. Moving from hybrid switches, here we have multiplexed switches for electric over air functions with 2 or 3-position switches. Next, 2-position switches for electrical functions, and this list continues to this slide. Following the 2-position electrical switches are the 3-position electrical switches. And last is a push button style switch specific to the new medium duty. Peterbilt has many online resources that you can access. At peterbilt.com, select Bodybuilder Resources from the drop-down menu for the latest bodybuilder manuals, operators manuals, and product literature. It also has a link to the Peterbilt YouTube channel. Go to the Bodybuilder Resources channel for more videos. More importantly, subscribe to the Bodybuilder Resources channel so you receive updates when new videos are posted. Next is the Peterbilt One Source for literature, product guides, and videos. Then PACCAR.net, which replaces ePortal and DealerNet. This is a good place for technical information. And PACCARPowertrain.com for information about PACCAR engines, axles, and transmissions. This module has just scratched the surface of information you want and need to know. For more information, be sure to watch the additional Peterbilt body integration modules, which dive deeper into each one of these important topics. I hope you've enjoyed this module on 2021 VMUX switches, and I look forward to our next opportunity to work together. Thank you.